ready.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another You Matter Talks. So today I am excited to have Donovan on my show here, and we're going to talk about anxiety, meditation, anxiety solutions, which I have to imagine is something that many of you are probably experiencing. You know, there's a lot of uncertainty in the world. There's a lot of changes going on. You know, even if it's just staying at home, that can be a big, huge change. You know, I always said when I was younger, I wasn't really equipped to be a stay-at-home mom. And ta-da! So, you know, there's just so much going on. And a lot of, you know, as we've talked in past shows, there's a lot of things that were already existing in many of your lives that are now escalating and amplifying because of all of these changes and stressors and things like that. So, really excited when Donovan offered to come onto the show and talk about anxiety solutions and meditation. Big fan of both of those. So let's get into it. Hello, Donovan.
Hello, yeah, nice to meet you and whoever's watching.
Yes, I know, it's so funny. So I keep getting these questions from people. They're like, oh, like, you know, are you planning the talks before you do them? And even the people coming on are like, what exactly are we going to talk about? How are we going to do it? And I'm just like, no, we're going to have an organic conversation. We've never met before, and let's just do this. And
Yeah, totally.
I'm like really noticing that it's making some people really uncomfortable. But the reason I'm doing this way is because I really feel like, you know, I'm the intimacy person. I want connection. And so I really feel like just having this beautiful organic interaction with you will just sort of, you know, bring to the surface whatever needs to happen. And I think getting to witness really authentic, genuine conversation is a really cool thing too. You know, you sort of get to witness what births, what sort of natural stories arise, where energy is flowing. And I think that's an important part of intimacy that we don't really show on stage as much now, radio shows, podcasts, like everything, it seems like it's become very contrived. And so I just wanted to break all those boundaries and just get back to like the authenticity and the vulnerability of, we don't even know what we're really going to talk about other than being anxious.
That's true. That's true. Good point. Yes, indeed.
So tell me a little bit about your background. How did you get into helping people with anxiety?
Well, my background is a lot of anxiety, to be honest with you. My background is like anxiety in my teens, anxiety got really bad in my 20s. 2 years ago, I had to quit school because the anxiety got so bad. Anxiety and depression. And, you know, I was a nail biter, so that, and then I really wanted to get past it so I could get a girlfriend because I'd be really anxious around women, especially. So I began to study in my 20s. I really dove into self-help, Western approaches, and then into Eastern approaches. And then I found some real amazing change in myself through the Eastern approaches, rather, through meditation, working with color and chakras. And then I had a really powerful spiritual experience in my 20s, a few of them, like many people. And then it became a passion. Learning about healing became a passion. And I studied hypnosis and NLP. I studied solution-focused counseling. I was kind of dabbling back then. But then I found I was called to a meditation teacher, and I really became a meditator and have done that ever since. So it's been over 20 years for me of meditation, daily practice. And then I began to learn about all the things he recommended because he was really amazing. I began to learn about flower essences and energy medicines. And I went to school for nutrition, for actually health coaching.
Okay.
Yeah. So then about 10 years ago, I started a blog called Evolver Wellness, and I began to just put everything I was learning there, you know, kind of just trying to help people who were like me, who are struggling. And I struggle with poverty a lot too. So it's really hard time for me. This has been a hard life for me. But I'm really grateful because I do live in, you know, the wealthy North America, and I've got like I now have all the medicines, including the really fancy ones. So like this, so I'm like super blessed.
Yes.
And so now I just try to help as much as I can, and through my blog and coaching mostly. Yeah.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Yeah. I hear so much of what you're saying. It was so interesting. Like, we don't know each other. So, but I've had complex PTSD since I was 4. So I've always said that my body and my mind traditionally has actually understood anxiety, depression, all of that probably more than it understood joy, contentment, ease. So it's kind of funny. I feel like I've been living life backwards, because so much of the time with clients, you can help them reframe things and bring them back to happy childhood memories and bring them back to that state of bliss and joy and innocence. And for me, I almost feel like I've had to learn what bliss, joy, and innocence is, what that satisfaction is, what that, just being in the present moment is, through what you're talking, a lot of focused work. Like, it's so funny, actually, the parallels, like I was hearing as you were talking, it's like, yeah, I started doing meditation when I was 16. I moved out and lived in this place with a hypnotherapist, and they were very spiritual, and they put so I rented a room, and they had a big copper pyramid that they had made with all the crystals in it. And I just thought, oh my gosh, I am like, this was not how I was raised at all. Like, and I was
Cool.
like,
Cool.
like, these people might be crazy.
Did
But
the pyramid work for you?
so he taught me self-hypnosis, and, I remember feeling so awkward. And actually, I think this is actually really important to share, because, I think this is a pretty natural thing if you haven't been raised with it. But, I went up in the middle of the night. In the middle of the night, there's this sunroom with this pyramid in it. And I like crept up there because I was so desperate for solutions, and went up there and went into this pyramid, sat in there, and started doing self-hypnosis on myself. And there was a calm and a peace that I had never experienced, that I got out of that. And I mean, that led to, like what you're talking about, years of study, and just becoming very passionate about it, because I mean, it just kind of keeps unraveling for you, I think, as you go.
Cool. Good,
So,
good story. Good story.
really cool. And I just also want to say very quickly, like, I love that you brought up how, also it was to help you in relationships with women, because I hear that from male clients a lot. And it's so nice to hear you say it and normalize it, and just, bring a little vulnerability to that. That's really beautiful. Thank you.
My pleasure. Yeah, I'm a pretty honest guy. Yeah, so, well, actually, I wasn't going to go into this. Like, there's a lot I could talk about regarding anxiety, but as I'm sure you could as well. But I wasn't going to go into this originally, but since you brought up pyramids, so I had this amazing teacher. And as far as healers go, or sources of learning, my teacher I was called to 20 years ago. He makes pyramids. He makes all kinds of meditation tools, and they're sold worldwide, and they're primo quality. Like this is one. I don't know if you can see that. It's silver. It's quite powerful. It's
Oh,
crystal.
great. Yeah, it's a little hard to see, but I'm sure other people can see it more. You're not really big on my screen
Yeah,
because I have to kind of monitor. Here, let me
they
see.
get
Here, I'm going to make you bigger so you can show me
okay.
again.
Like silver,
It's weird for
four
everyone else.
points with a crystal plate
Oh,
in the
I
middle.
see. Yes, totally.
But he also makes full-size pyramid systems, and they're like you get crystals along the beams, and they get gold plated, and they're meditation tools, but they're for helping us to relax and go into meditation, which is very hard for most people.
Yeah.
For me, though, they were really helpful. They are still really helpful for me still in, transforming anxiety and calming down and being able to meditate.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I think, people need to discover what works for them, right? And so I know many people that use pyramids that love them. I've even, had a partner in the past that was this like pyramid, but then using it is a whole different experience. So it's very interesting, right? And I think, if that's what like works, and that's what, ends up helping, then yay, like, it's fabulous. And I mean, yeah, it can seem a little woo woo if that's not where you're at. I mean, that's where I was at when I was 16. I came from a very, sort of Christian based family, and the spiritual stuff was like devil's work. So, going and putting myself in, this pyramid was a huge step out of the norms that I had been taught. But I have to say, like my pyramids too. So
the pyramid is the way I've been taught from my teacher is that if you take the earth and you pull it so it touches, or you take the moon and you were to pull it so it touches the earth, so you'd have like two spheres, or a big one and a small one, right?
Okay.
You would draw lines from the center of the moon to the periphery of the earth. You would form a pyramid. The center point would be in the center of the moon, and then you have the edges of the earth if they were touching each other, these two spheres. And that geometry is actually the 51-degree pyramid.
Oh, okay.
That's where the Great Pyramid geometry comes from, and that's where when you see most pyramids made, they're 51-degree pyramids. So it actually fits the geometry. If you're coming at it from a Christian point of view, you would say it fits the geometry of creation,
right?
Which is actually called geomancy. But it's a science. This is what my teacher tells us. It's a science that fits with how everything is, because supposedly the body is also geometric in its proportions, and so is everything in nature. So when you're meditating inside a pyramid, and I'm not saying we all got to meditate inside of pyramids, but what I think now from a lot of learning is that the more we do meditate, the more we are able to become a world of people that can meditate, the more we will be moving in this direction instead of this direction, because the world already moves us in this direction. The world is, most people have experienced trauma, or just the culture is, can be hard to make enough money, hard to, etc. So, but as we move in this direction, we are experiencing the post-traumatic growth, of developing our awareness of our patterns and calming down, and eventually wisdom and so on.
Yeah, totally.
So we need whatever. So in my blog, I write about many supports for meditation. I present these tools, including, all the way from this up to the pyramid systems that my teacher makes. And I explain a bit about those in my blog, but I also explain just about meditation itself as a practice that anyone can do without tools, and some of the just simple tips, because people tend to have misconceptions about it. They think you have to have a super quiet mind, or, so
you can't think anything when you're doing it. Yeah.
It's not, I can't do that,
So, well, yeah. So, okay. So this is a great point to it. Hi, Brian. It's so nice to have you on. So one of the things that I would love to know from your perspective is what do you consider meditation to be?
Yeah, totally. Well, I actually think that it is basically just relaxing. That's really all it is. Like there's a lot of great ways of looking at it, but one of the best ones I like comes from the Kagyu lineage of Tibetan Buddhism. One of the four main schools called Kagyu. And the way they put it is meditation is total relaxation without concentration or distraction. So really it's relaxing. It's just totally relaxing. And to totally relax, you have to put your attention through your body. You have to go into places and relax them. So the more you do that, but even that could be like a kind of concentration. So really it's not.
Yeah, you can still make it difficult.
Yeah, you can still make it difficult. Exactly. So really what I say to people when I suggest meditation is I say, don't make it another thing you have to do that stresses you out. I say do it, make it it's a time of coming home to yourself, and it's a time of relaxing. So you want to find a nice space to sit in. You want to make it nice, wrap yourself in a warm blanket or nice, whatever makes you feel good, and relax and so you can relax. And then I say, the other main thing I say is just to choose a support for the mind. So, I recommend like a guided meditation, or even just a track on YouTube of like monks doing Om can be very soothing.
Totally.
And then just sit there and, you'll begin to breathe more deeply than usual. And you will, you calm down and relax, and you're meditating. So it's really easy, honestly.
Yeah.
And if there's difficulty with that, then there's other things like these tools or flower essences or, things to help.
Totally. Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, there's so many, I like that you're saying, there's guided meditations that can be a great way to start. Yes, there's chanting that you can listen to. You can even chant,
Sure.
yourself. That's kind of a more active meditation, because there's active meditations too.
Yeah.
There's really active meditations if you want to go into the Osho realms. Um, and then there's this like simple things too that I know that's worked for some people that have said that meditation doesn't work for them. They've tried everything, and sometimes just staring into flames, like candle flame, and just really being present with that candle flame is, if they find it relaxing, they find it, so
Yeah.
I think like it's just so great for people to hear that there's so many different ways to meditate. Like there's literally like hundreds and hundreds of ways. Like who knows, there could be even more than that. That's just kind of what I've come across in 20 years. Tantra, yes, Brian, yes, there's like there's so much. I mean, you can go to meditation eye gazing, right? That's like almost like a two-person meditation, where you're just really in presence with yourself and someone else in just total ease. So yes, thank you. Happy fire. Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. One of the meditations, the meditation I do now, I should just mention it so anyone can check it out if they want.
Mhm.
The meditation I do now that I like the most is called Om meditation. And it's basically we do ohms, and we do them for a while. And eventually you find that, wow, it's amazing. You can, the Om, what supposedly what I'm told is the Om literally creates the form of a Sri yantra. So um, when you do the Om for a longer period of time, like a long 10-second Om even, you'll actually find that you'll start to open up, not just because it comes out of the throat center, but you start to open up the clear your mind. It starts to open up your head center, and it opens your heart center. And then pretty soon you can find, especially as you practice this meditation, that you'll find that at the end of it, you'll be sitting in a very clear open space. So because I've been doing the Om meditation now for about 8 years, almost daily. As,
Yeah.
as my group, this is what we do. So yeah, so we do that, and we do it with a bit more steps. So if anybody wanted to check out the way we do it, they would just go to ommeditation.org with two M's.
Okay.
And
Perfect.
there. Yeah. But the heart of it is really that the Om is like, um, it's the sound is something to it, supposedly. Which
Well,
you
yeah,
can,
and I mean, for the science buffs on this, I mean, there's a lot of science behind it too, right? Like when we resonate sound, we actually light up parts of our brain that, like, all in unison, that don't typically light up. Our nervous system goes into a state of relaxation. We're actually practicing breath work, which is amazing. We know for the nervous system. And then, like you're talking, the spiritual stuff, it opens up your heart center. We had Julie Blue on. Last week we had her on. She was teaching us singing. And
oh,
right, it's like how it opens up our heart and how it opens up your throat. And we didn't talk so much about the crown. Me and her have talked about that otherwise, but yeah, I mean, it just can open. And even if you're just looking at the fact that it creates vibration in all of these areas,
yeah,
like even if you want to go non-spiritual, and again, just sort of look at the actual science of it, you're creating a resonant vibration that's really opening up cells and allowing everything to open and relax, which is powerful.
mm-hmm.
And of course, there's so many sounds you can use too. Like if ohm's not your thing, you can pick, other beautiful sounds to make as well, that also open you up in different ways. I am not an expert on mantras though, at all.
Neither am I. Yeah, there's definitely a difference, but I would just say, I think the main thing with one of the learnings is that ideally our intuition leads our healing path. Which can be, we'll have more intuition later, but ideally it's a process of listening to what you're being led to do. Yeah, yeah,
Absolutely. And so, like, so in talking about this, in talking about anxiety, so I know, like, from my own experience and then having clients with this and stuff, that a lot of the time, meditation and that sort of thing will help with sort of the mind anxiety. But it's interesting to notice how the body has its own somatic cellular anxiety, that even after years of meditation, you can still experience like literal body anxiety without so much experiencing it in your mind anymore. And
Yeah.
have you had that experience, and like, what did you find useful for that?
I so have, and I'll give you the short answer and then maybe a bit of a longer answer if we have time.
Yeah, yeah.
So the short answer is I experienced that. 23 years of meditation. I've do all these things. I've seen so many different people and practitioners. And I still have anxiety and I still fight it. And it's pain. But and the funny thing is, it doesn't come from my mind and go into my body. It's not like I have a worrying thought and then I get anxiety.
Right.
That
Yeah.
that can happen to me.
It goes
But for me, it's more like it goes like for me, it just seems to start. It'll start up some days in my stomach with no thoughts at all. And my
totally.
body just goes through it. And there's a number of explanations I could give, which are interesting. But the main thing I think now is the way I see it is this way. I describe in my writing, I write that there's three essentials to healing. This is my philosophy. The first one is nutrition. Second one is lifestyle, which means our environment, our work, our relationships, exercise, that's a lot of stuff. And the third one, the third
Yes, it is.
one that's big. And all these are essential. And then the third one I call energy medicines, or even broader, let's say healing therapies. So whatever you're trying to heal, you're probably going to have a nutritional element that will be supportive of it. Like many people, less sugar, they'll have less anxiety, or take away gluten, and they'll have less anxiety, or less bipolar or whatever. And the second thing would be, and then in lifestyle, there's many contributors to anxiety there, like too much scrolling Facebook with bad news could make you anxious.
Totally.
But then, yeah, and then in the therapies area, I think one of the big promising ones that I see helping a lot of people is neurofeedback.
Mm.
So I think the awareness of that is growing now. It's not quite at the point yet where people know about it or what it is, but I think I've seen it help some of my friends a lot.
Yeah.
And I think the way that works is just, it's quite expensive now, but I think hopefully it will come down in price. But basically you're able to use technology as a mirror for your brain's activity.
Totally.
Your brain's able to see itself very directly. And then the brain begins to see how it's working too hard, and it begins to calm down. And eventually, through more sessions, your brain begins to have that as its new normal, calm, which is what it's supposed to be.
Okay.
Yeah. And you kind of froze on me. Oh, I don't know. I can't. You're frozen, and I can't hear you. I can hear myself. Very strange.
I'm back.
Oh, you're back a little bit. We're back. I wonder if I have too many tabs open on my computer. Oh, there you are. You're back.
Continue talking if I drop out. This happened the other day.
Okay, keep talking. All right, sounds good. Yeah, so neurofeedback, I think, is like, well, I wrote an article on it. My blogs are short, but I put a lot of work into some of them. Like I'll research them and everything. I like to do it, so I do it. And the one I wrote on neurofeedback was about a process of neurofeedback called brainwave optimization, which is probably the most advanced method of neurofeedback. And what they say is it gets about an 85% success rate. And after 3 sessions, most people find they're sleeping like they haven't in years.
Yeah.
Which I think is amazing, because sleep is, the statistics are that as we get older, we tend to have a harder time getting enough sleep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's
I mean, it makes sense. I mean, well, it's funny because you talked about having a hypnotherapy background. I have a hypnotherapy background. So from a hypnotherapist standpoint and just knowing what I know about the brain and stuff, I mean, neurofeedback makes sense. I've never used it myself, but I know people that have used it quite successfully. So yeah, I think that's an excellent suggestion. Whether people can be doing that right now in isolation, I don't know, but it's a tool there for when we're not isolating.
Yeah, right now I suggest things like, the 3: nutrition, lifestyle, and then medicines, so whatever those 3 you can do.
And you
So
know what? Nutrition is such a great one that you bring up too. Cause I mean, I really found that like over the years, right? Like if I was like having anxiety and I had caffeine, that was not a good mix.
yeah,
You know, whereas, you know, if I had some, I'm going to say medicinal mushrooms, but I do not mean magic mushrooms. There are so many medicinal mushrooms. I mean, the ones that we have in our rainforest here, you know, like we got shaga and reishi, and, you know, they're adaptogens, so great for stress, adaptogens, period, you know, just
totally, totally. Yeah,
you can order them on Amazon if you don't want to go to the grocery store and go get them. Like in the morning, I have, which does have some caffeine in it, but I have a more, you know, a cacao that I make with, you know, just water. I don't make it with any kind of dairy. And I put in my 7 little, little powdered up mushrooms, freeze dried mushrooms.
nice,
And that's how I start my day,
cool.
you know?
That sounds great. That
It's
sounds great. Yeah.
it's perfect. You know, it's one of those things that it's like nutrition is one of those things that I have felt strongly over the years with having had the complex PTSD. Nutrition was something I've spent money on. You know, as much as, you know, and I mean, I've had some really tough financial situations in my life where, you know, I did not have a roof over my head, and things like this. And if I could find a way to barter trade whatever for, you know, some good adaptogens and some good, you know, nutritional food that's really providing for my body, like I found that to be a huge thing.
Totally. Yeah, there's a lot to do in that area too. And that's really why I make it the first of the three, is because um, you know, you could go to neurofeedback, say, but you may need to, you know, work on the nutritional area just to stabilize blood sugar or whatever it is. Yeah, so there's a lot to do there. I guess, how much time do we have, do you think?
We have a little bit more time if you want.
Okay, cool.
Nobody's like going to tell us to stop.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's okay. I thought we only had 40 minutes. I was like, gotta talk fast.
Yeah, I generally I say, you know, we'll go from about 1 to 1:30, but if we go a little bit longer, that's all right.
All right. Okay. Awesome. Yeah. So I guess nutritionally, yeah, anxiety's really beat the crap out of me over the years. So I really have a, you know, I feel for people that suffer from it, and I guess, and you know, I tried a lot of the supplements. Like I tried 5-HTP, I tried GABA, and some of them worked at first a little bit, but then they wouldn't work, and then I'd be like, oh man, there's another $30, you know.
Your brain gets used to them.
There's that. There's
So
actually that. Yeah.
your neurotransmitters will actually adapt. I mean, this is what happens if people are coping with alcohol and other things too, is that, you know, actually the brain gets it gets all these lovely, juicy neurotransmitters, but then it can actually adapt so that it has less receptors so that you can still be taking the same supplement, but you're not going to get the same effects. Which is such an interesting thing that you bring up, and such an interesting thing that I've been exploring a lot actually in the last couple of years with a naturopath that I work with. Because I've realized that a lot of the clients that I get and things like this that have addiction issues have these, what we call epigenetics, where if they've had trauma in the past, which usually they have anxiety from some kind of trauma, it actually triggers these epigenetics, which start turning down the receptors, which makes a lot of sense. You know, in hindsight, when I was thinking about it, I'm like, there you are, a child, and, you know, you want to survive. That usually means behaving in whatever way you're being asked to within that trauma. And so I guess, you know, if you didn't feel good any other way, but by pretty much obeying, and weren't able to sort of make yourself feel really good otherwise, that would be a pretty good, like, a way for the body to get you into surviving. But yeah, it's super interesting. And those epigenetics can be turned on and off. So I've been really curious over the last few years how to work with that better, and how to, you know, like I know how to send people for testing so that they can find out if they have it. You know, I have it. Yeah, and it's super, super interesting that you bring that up, because yeah.
Yeah, I think that's why I often, a lot of health coaches recommend, that's kind of the circle that I'm in, a lot of it's health coaches. And a
Yeah.
lot of them work with, in fact, a lot of them now are, some of the better ones now are saying, they're saying to their clients and they're saying to their students, don't get stuck on testing, because, sometimes we'll go, oh man, my problem is I can't get testing. I don't have enough money to
Yeah.
pay for testing, but the truth is, if we just try things and notice what it does. So
True.
if we have our, like, a health journal or a food journal, then we can, and we have consistency in our experiments, then I think we can discover, that more leafy greens makes us calmer, or that, um, yogurt makes us more anxious, or whatever.
Totally. And I think that's great advice in general, because I mean, I think over the years, even with my own anxiety, that was a really big thing that I did around everything. It was journaling. It was like, I would be going through, maybe sort of a PTSD relapse, if you will, where everything's like really hyper, very hypersensitive when I'm in that state. And it was this, like, I would notice that I would go feel good and then not feel good and feel good. And it was like, what is this, thing that's causing this sort of bump, right? And over the years, it's so interesting what's come up. It could be a certain person was coming over to visit, and I had some unresolved trauma that was being brought up for me when that person was there. I'm a strong empath, so sometimes it was somebody that was coming in with a lot of emotional angst, and I didn't really realize back then how sensitive I was. Like now I've got that all kind of figured out. And I'm not affected by other people's energy to that level. But, 10, 15 years ago, I really was. And it was so hard to figure out, except when I journaled, and then one of the wildest things that led to a lot of stuff was actually feeling good, which was such a really, I think that might've been about 15 years ago, where I was journaling. And it was like, every time I actually felt really good, I would almost kind of then self-sabotage and start feeling really bad. It was almost like, I think Guy Hendricks talks about it. He calls it an upper limit problem.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I think there's probably truth to that. I don't think I would call it I don't, my immediate reaction to that is like, oh, don't give it a name,
I
because
know, but
like, we all do it. Like,
he
it's
does
just,
give it a name, because, he's like, there's this place where we achieve a certain amount of, success, I guess, or feeling good. And, subconsciously we kind of have that comfort zone, right? So we kind of try and pull ourselves back into it. Which I think
I would
that's,
say, yeah, I would say that, just to, I would say, like, that we do, but at the same time, though, we're not doing it. My view is that we wouldn't be doing it we wouldn't be doing it consciously. We might have some awareness that we're doing it, but it's not like we wake up and go,
oh no, it's pretty much unconscious.
yeah, so it's
Yeah.
unconscious.
But that's where, like, journaling and stuff, what you were saying, I found also
Oh yeah,
really
yeah.
useful, is because you'll see those unconscious habits, right? You'll
Oh,
start seeing not only that maybe you didn't eat any greens that day and whatever, but also that you did this, and every single time you do these things, it kind of leads to this not feeling good that day, right? And so, yeah, I just like that you brought up the journaling, because I think it can really bring a lot of awareness to our unconscious habits and things that are going on, which then you can deal with, right? You can hypnotherapy, you can go do your neurofeedback, you can do meditation, you can do, oh my gosh, there's so many modalities. So I apologize to anyone listening to this, because I just
EFT.
can't list off the hundreds of modalities that could work for you incredibly effectively for these things, but there's tons.
EFT as well is giving a lot of people
Yeah,
more
you
freedom.
got your tapping. I mean, yeah, I found incredible results with somatic therapies. Breath work works really well for some people. I mean, you got your body code, your motion code, your energy work.
Yeah, so I should show you. This is another one of the healing tools that my teacher.
Wow.
So this is a diamond-shaped form. It's actually a diamond and a cube interlocking
Yeah.
with 8 or rather 9 total crystals.
Well,
And this is called a solar cross, a Maitreya solar cross. And this transmits the blessings of my teacher, who's Buddha Maitreya.
oh, okay.
So Buddha Maitreya, this is with aqua colored crystals in it.
Yeah.
And here you've got one that's got amber colored crystal.
Oh wow, you do have all the toys.
I have all the toys. And I even got a head pyramid. It goes on my head. It's a
Really?
pyramid. And I gotta tell you,
I
it
have
works.
I have
It
only
works.
seen those on photos.
They like it calms your head down. It like you put it on, and
Yeah.
it's like sometimes I'll be if I'm in my most sensitive states, I'm very sensitive. I'll put it on and it'll be like everything just quiets down from the body from there down. It's crazy. So
Beautiful.
yeah, they're awesome. But yeah,
So, okay, so as we close up, what is like the one piece that, if you had to like, say, somebody comes to you, the most special, amazing person in your life, and they're suffering from this anxiety, and there's like one piece you can give them, what would it be?
oh, one piece of
Yeah,
anxiety.
one piece, like this seed or that little one piece that you kind of.
Well, I'm still working out my anxiety, really, but I would say, I mean, I guess I want to say at this time because of our situation. I guess I want to say like the more we can see it, the more we can see the opportunity in it. I think is probably better
Hmm.
because that's what's helping me get through this is seeing that, um, it's like I'm now being really supported in doing the work, because I can't distract myself by going here or there. So, and the more I do that, the more I do the work of healing myself, which is fun sometimes and work other times, the more I am doing it for everybody because, it won't, the more I heal it, the more I won't be passing it on to my kids if I ever have kids. I won't have those issues going on. But also I'm told that when one person, like say, meditates or we actually are more connected than we realize.
Yeah, the
So
collective consciousness.
yeah. So it's actually so I believe now it's actually a great service to just meditate because we are even if I'm not in the same room with other people, we are all in one room, and that room is Earth. And
Yeah.
that and so
Yeah.
the more we meditate, the more I meditate, the more I'm adding to that. I'm beginning to resonate with all the other people who are meditating and all the sacred places, and I'm adding my note to that note and amping that up, and that opposes the note of fear, which is so easy to fall into, which also exists on the planet.
Yeah.
So that's sort of how I see it.
Yeah, it's funny. I so believe that when we do the work, so I totally like, I feel you on this. Like, I feel like when I have, unresolved trauma that comes up and it results in anxiety or it results in like whatever it results in, right? Like, there's a feeling that emerges within our bodies, within ourselves. And I always look at that now as an opportunity to heal something that maybe it's mine, maybe it's not, who the heck knows? I don't even look at it like that
Yeah,
anymore. Like,
true.
where did it come from? What happened with it? It's just like, this is what's arising. And so it's an opportunity to heal it. And I believe very much that we're healing that for the collective. There's tons of research now that you can look at where, they've taught like, a rat to take a maze somewhere else, and then all the rats and every other laboratory can do that maze right away. And, the monkeys and all of that different stuff. But I call it like our iCloud. So, for people that are maybe wondering what the heck these crazy people are talking about, I call it our iCloud. And just like your phone or your computer, we have our iCloud that I think is through us and around us. And that iCloud connects to everybody else's iCloud. And so we can upload and download from this iCloud and essentially really benefit each other in so many ways. And so I think that, yes, if you're just sitting at home doing your work, like, you're not just doing that work for you, you're doing that work for generations, you're doing that work for the planet. It's so much more powerful than just for you. So I hugely commend that you're doing that work and that you're doing these Om meditations regularly. And yes, thank you so much for sharing that with us.
Cool, my pleasure. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
it has been a lot of work. And I guess I just want to, before I lose the opportunity, just share that I'm putting together a collection of my best articles for people who are dealing with this, time. On my site, if people want to go there and opt in, they can receive a package which will have articles on anxiety, or an article or two on anxiety, one on CBD, intro to CBD, because I'm also a CBD educator. And then it'll have an article, intro to meditation, and a few kind of free things that I pulled together, like just free courses and stuff that have been offered on the internet that I've curated.
Perfect. Well, as I'm saying with every, people can reach out to you. You're available. You're in the group. I'm sure people can write comments on this live as well if they have any questions for you and direct message you, right? Yeah.
Totally. Sure.
Awesome. Perfect. So, because I'm imploring people to really connect. If there's someone you resonate with, connect. Like, that's what I'm here to help you all with, is connecting. Because that is really the essence of life. I just, personally, that's like the entire foundation of life to me, is connection. I just don't know what else we're doing other than to be here and to experience and to connect at the end of the day. So that's my passion. That's hopefully the gift that I'm sharing with everyone by doing these lives. And thank you so much, Donovan, for being on here and doing this with me and contributing. And I really appreciate it.
My pleasure. It's been fun. Thanks so much for having me.
Have a beautiful day.
You too. Yep. Bye-bye.